So it's been a while since I've posted anything. It's basically close to the end of June now, another week or so before we go to North Haven. And so what I've been doing is I decided to, that since I'm going to put a cabin on this thing over here, coming back over to the top of this frame here, that it would be nice to have be able to sleep under it. So what I've done is I've raised this one up 4 inches and lowered this one over here about 3.5 inches, so that all of this here is all at the same level, all going through there. So I should be able to tuck my feet through that way a little bit. My head will end up somewhere around in here, and then these seats here will be the same height, these two here. And so I did this side also so that, basically this would be the same height. It gives me more storage space underneath. And then the other thing is that the water line is essentially somewhere around in this area here where my fingernail is going by. So what this does is this creates quite a bit of buoyancy here, so that if I did capsize this and flipped it back upright, I should be able to open a drain hole down here in the footwell, and basically the water should just run out on its own. I may have to squeegee off, squish off a little bit with a sponge or whatever, but essentially it should just all run down there. So lots of buoyancy, lots of additional storage, plus the ability to sleep under there. So that's what I'm up to there. So the only other thing that's necessitated is changing the centerboard a little bit. So centerboard fits in here, and I wanted to make the centerboard out of 1/2 inch stainless steel, so that it would be heavier than the 1/4 inch aluminum that the design calls for. That gives me a little bit more stability, and then if I make the area of that centerboard even a little larger, that helps with the extra weight down below. So there was a provision for being able to attach a little seat on the back end of the centerboard trunk, but since this is all higher now, that seat also needs to be higher. Plus, there's going to be a combing around the edge of the cockpit. It'll also be probably about 4 inches higher. So this should end up working out. So basically, I'm extending the centerboard trunk up a little bit. There was a, I'll show you. There's a piece that was. This is the two centerboard trunk halves here. There was a little piece here which I cut off, which the seat was supposed to mount to, and then instead I'm filling this in and adding a piece of wood into here. I'm going to epoxy that in here, and this is a piece of wood for the other one. So once I epoxy these in place and then sand this smooth and cover it with cloth and epoxy, that thing will have plenty of strength, and I'll just come up with a different system to mount a seat onto here for rowing. And I'm guessing that the geometry probably works out just fine, because it essentially raised everything up. Other than the water's still at the same level, so there may be a little difference in geometry, but my seat's a little higher, the combing's a little higher, where the oarlocks attach, and so I think it'll end up working out just fine. And this gives me more area, so I can now, instead of making the centerboard just here like this, I can extend it up a little bit higher. We'll still put a little bit of a curve on the back end of it, but it gives me a little bit more weight on the lower bottom end of the centerboard. So that's what I've been up to. That's what it looks like from the bow, looking back. And essentially what I'm about to do now is epoxy those pieces onto the centerboard, and then I'm also going to add some carbon fiber cloth here and cover these little holes here, so that these pieces that I've epoxied in, I just cut them to shape and then epoxy them in there. I just want to reinforce it on both sides, a little bit of carbon fiber, this one here and that one there on both sides, just to give it a little extra strength, and should be all set.